Hi, good evening, everyone. So, this brings us to a very important topic in project management, which is known as risk management. So, in normal life, normally, if you see, risk is known as negative thing. However, in project management, the rate, give me a second. In project management, risk is not entirely negative. It is both positive as well as negative. Now, let's understand and positive risk is known as opportunities and negative risk is known as threats. So, I'll just take a moment to repeat risk management in normal life. We consider them only as negative, while in project management risks are both positive and negative, and positive is referred to as opportunities and negative is referred to as threats. Now, by definition, if I say what is the definition of risk management, definition of risk management by PMI is anything which can affect your project positively or negatively. Anything which can affect your project positively or negatively is a risk. As I mentioned, positive is opportunities and negative is threats. As a project manager, your whole goal is to maximize opportunities and minimize threats. Quite basic. Now, another important thing is we have certain tactics or tools to maximize opportunities or minimize threats. So, in order to minimize threats, we have tools which are like, just a second, you have avoid, transfer, mitigate, and then comes accept and escalate. So example of avoid is, let's say you are leaving from office at around 5 p.m. and that is the peak traffic hours. So what you do, you completely avoid leaving at 5 and you leave by 4, and reaching by 5 you work from home, or you leave by 8. You completely avoided the 5 p.m. traffic. This is avoid. Transfer. The basic example of transfer is insurance. You have some, you take some insurance, you pay a premium, and the whole thing is now taken care by the insurance company. Mitigate is to lower it down. Let's say you have to, it's the same example of 5 p.m. traffic. You cannot leave late, you cannot leave early. So what you did, you somehow tried to leave at around 4:30, so that half of the distance when you cover, the traffic is less, comparatively less, as compared to the peak 5 p.m. Accept is something you cannot do about it, so you just accept it the way it is. Escalate, let's say you inform to the traffic department of the country, of the city, telling them that this area is hugely affected in 5 p.m. Please deploy some police officials, and they manage the traffic. This is escalation. When you cannot do anything about it, you have escalated the thing. This is an example of escalation. So these are the tools for managing threats. Now similarly, for opportunities, as we discussed, that we need to maximize these opportunities. The examples are exploit, share, enhance, accept, and escalate. Example of exploit is, you know that you have an activity planned, and your best team member, or the guy who's best at this activity, is going on leave after a week. So you plan this activity, you prepone this activity, plan this activity before, so that it can be done by the best skilled person for this activity. This is an example of exploit. Share means you are sharing. For example, let's say two business houses or two business units came together for telecom projects. So company A is creating telecom towers, and company B is providing services. Indus Tower, example Indus Tower, and any other service provider company. Then comes enhance. Accept is the same thing. You cannot do anything about it, you accept. Escalate, you just inform your supervisors, team managers, senior stakeholders. So this is an example of opportunities. So let's understand through slides. What is project risk? These are events that may or may not happen, but if it does, it causes unpleasant outcomes for our project. Project risks are threats to the success of the project. Exactly. As per PMBOK, a process that allows individual risk events and overall risk to be understood and managed proactively, optimizing success by minimizing threats and maximizing opportunities. As I mentioned, anything which can affect your project positively or negatively is a risk. Now, risks are of two types, negative and positive. The negative risks are known as threats, and the positive risks are known as opportunities. As a project manager, you have to maximize opportunities and minimize threats. All right, another view. Risk management is a process of identifying, analyzing, and responding to risk factors throughout the life of a project and is in the best interest of its objectives. Yes, in an ideal scenario, you should be proactive rather than reactive. The whole job of project management or project manager is to forecast and plan well. I think this is an important concept. Let me explain. As a project manager, your whole task is plan well. Let's say I'm a sponsor and you are the project manager working on that project. I'm okay to receive a negative or a bad news, but as a PM, you should know how bad it is. I'm fine to receive a bad news, but I should know how bad it is, and I should know the backup plan. So, as a project manager, your whole agenda is to manage and plan well. If you remember, we discussed the initiation phase. The artifacts of the initiation phase were needs assessment, then came feasibility study, then project charter, needs assessment, feasibility study, business case, project charter, stakeholder register, high level risk register as well, high level, and assumptions list. Assumptions. You assume few things about the project that, for example, there will be no natural calamity. You assume that as and when you reach into the execution phase, your sponsor will release the money. You assume that there will be no war. You assume there will be no act of God like earthquake, like volcano, like a massive meteor from the universe coming to your place. These things you assume that you will be there. Sponsor releasing the money. So why I was discussing this topic is, if you see risk management here, risk register, the high level risk you also manage at the initiation phase when you are just at the what do you call it, ideation phase of the project. Then also you are doing high level risk management. And assumption list is also about is another way of managing risk, because you cater all those obvious things here in assumption list. I hope this is clear. It should reduce the likelihood of an event occurring and also reduce the magnitude impact. Defining the risk. There are known knowns. These things are that we know. There are known unknowns, that is to say, there are things that we now know we do not know, but there are also unknown unknowns. There are things that we do not know. Okay, let me explain that. So let's say I have created this. Let me remove. Okay. What happened to this? Okay, it's better. Now understand this. You have x-axis. This is x-axis and this is y-axis. Now there are four quadrants: known, problem, known, solution. Then you have unknown, problem, and you have unknown, solution. Here you have problem is known and solution unknown. And here you have problem unknown but solution known. Now please listen to this carefully. Known problem and known solution. It is quite obvious that if you know the problem, you must know the solution. It is obvious. So you are aware of a problem and you have, based on that, you have find out solutions. This is known. Unknown problem, unknown solution is you do not know about the problem and you do not know about because you do not know about the problem, you have no idea about the solution. The example of this is act of God. Or anything of that nature which you have no idea about. They fall into this category, which is unknown problem, unknown solution. Now comes this, which is known problem and unknown solution. This is also basic. You know about, you have an idea about the problem, but you have no solution in place. So what you will do, you will brainstorm, you will read or go through some journals, used cases, perhaps take help from PMO if a similar kind of project has been done, or maybe at the end escalation. You are a project manager, I'm the program manager. You sent an email to me saying that XYZ thing has happened. I'm looking for your help. Please help me. I will come in and I will give my expert advice, or based on my experience, will try to help you with this, providing solution of this problem. Fair? So known problem, known solution is pretty basic. You know about the problem, so therefore you know about the solution. There are a lot of use cases. All the construction project, electrical projects, they have similar kind of problems, because all the projects have similar kind of challenges majorly. So you have a known problem, you know solution. You have a known problem but you are not aware of the solution. You will brainstorm, read through journals, articles, take expert advice. Expert advice is also one of them. You go through use cases, you take help from PMO if a similar kind of project has been done. At the end, escalation, writing to me. Then comes, or any senior stakeholders. Then comes unknown unknowns. You have no idea about the problem. Therefore, you have no idea about the solution. Majorly acts of God, anything which is happening for the first time. Here, this quadrant 3 is about problem is unknown, but solution is known. This majorly covers your assumption list. In assumption list, you say, I'm expecting that sponsor, let's say I'm the sponsor for this project, you are the project manager, the sponsor will release the money at the execution phase. You assume. So therefore, you are you have no idea about the problem, but the solution is you assume that the sponsor will release the money. You assume that your team members will not leave the organization without serving notice period. And in that notice period, you will try to find a resource that can replace this guy. You assume that there will be no avalanche. You assume there will be no meteors or asteroids coming to your project site in next 2 years of the project duration. This is unknown problem but known solution. I hope this concept is clear. Let's go through the slides. So this is what they are trying to say. There are known knowns, unknown unknowns, and the three other quadrants, which I have total 4 quadrants, which we just discussed. Okay, sources of risk: scope, time, cost, quality, resource, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder, and integration. Majorly, critically, three kind of risk are scope, time, cost, which is also known as iron triangle, which is also known as triple constraints, which is also known as golden triangle. Sometimes they call it TCQ, time, cost, quality, whereas quality is nothing but scope, because all the quality standards are already defined in scope. So, sources of risk: time, critical chain, uncertainty, risky activities; cost, strength of estimates, new versus regular project; quality, particularly quality assurance, health and safety risk, legal, etc., etc. So quite self-explanatory. I'll go through. Okay, I think we have discussed this. What are projects? Where are projects located? If you see, this is first timer. The last is paint by numbers, wherein you exactly know the process and the results are well known, and in between you have mix. So if you see volume and variety, volume, and here you have variety. Now, if you see, this was first timers. Any examples of first timer project that comes to you that reflects in your thoughts? Any example of first timer kind of projects? So the best example of first timer project is the lunar moon landing project by ISRO. Any other space exploration project which has not been done in the past? Because it is first timers, this one is a first timer. There is no use case, there is no old project to refer back, hence the risk is highest. Then comes another kind of project wherein you have exact idea about what is going to be the results, and you have exact idea about the processes. In management, we call them paint by numbers, when you exactly know what it is going to be about. Paint by numbers. Example, audit project of a company. You exactly know the processes. Processes are very well defined. Plus, you also know either the audit will fail or pass. Simple, no in between. The processes are well defined. Risk, what do you think? Risk is high or low? Obviously, when you have completely defined processes, results are where you are very well aware about the results, so the risk is lowest. Here, risk was highest, and in between comes mix of these two, where risk is moderate. So anything, if you're doing a project which is first timer, if it is falling into that category, your risk would be highest. If the similar kind of projects has been done in the past, the risk becomes lower. I hope this concept is clear. This is what they're trying to say. The first timers notion of uniqueness prevails. The processes and the outcomes are well known for paint by numbers, and hence the risk is highest at the first timers and the risk is lowest in the paint by numbers. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Extremely important. You should know your strengths and weaknesses well, as well as opportunities and threats. So if you see, the strength and weakness are for an internal, is more like internal assessment. Based on those strengths and weakness, you find out opportunities and you find out threats. So if you see that strengths and weaknesses are more like inward looking, while opportunities and threats are more outwardly looking. Let's understand internal, poor scoping of the project, key stakeholders not fully engaged, brought in, confusion between team member roles, unrealistic timetables, too many competing projects. External, this is prompt list. If you are aware of, I think we discussed this. PESTLE, PESTLE, political, economical, social, technological, legal, environmental. Similar kind of prompt list is VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. TCOP, technical, commercial, operational, political. So these are prompt lists. They help us in analyzing risk based on these prompts. The sources of risk: external, unexpected policy, regulatory changes, technological changes, funding context, both government grants and inflation, currency movements, union action, legal disputes. So these are the sources of risks. Identification of risk. Early in the planning cycle, most project teams will brainstorm risks, identifying the risk, their cause, potential consequences, risk identification workshops, distinguish between project risk and business risk, and need to understand how risk affects business case of project and plan accordingly. So I'll stop this topic here, and we will restart in our